Guests and callers and not necessarily of this station or iHeartMedia. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. The information in the following program should not be construed as an offer to sell and is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax advisor or legal counsel.
Hey there, welcome back to another edition of the Premier Investments and Wealth Management Financial Program. My name is Doug Wagner. I'm your host for this program. Introduce the two gentlemen who are here with me today after a brief interlude on behalf of PremierIWM.com. That is the website for Premier Investments and Wealth Management. Go to PremierIWM.com, whether you're on your phone, tablet, laptop, or even on your desktop. Click Get Started, answer just a couple of questions. They will provide for you a one-page Premier Vision document. Now, they will also provide for you the opportunity to take that home with you. It's a free, no cost, no obligation, sit-down conversation with them to find out, hey, are you ready for retirement? You maybe don't know about that. In fact, if you're the average American, you probably don't know if you are, but get one step closer to that. A financial plan is so critical in making sure that you can carry out the dreams that you want to in retirement, whether that's living the life you've always dreamed, whether it's making sure that your kid's education is paid for, or maybe it's the dream house, the lake house, or maybe even the hunting cabin, that second home down in the Keys or anything like that. PremierIWM.com, click on Get Started, answer those questions. They will offer you that free appointment. Or you can just call right now for an appointment, 800-383-6590. Now to introduce the new sheriff in town, he's vice president of Premier Investments and Wealth Management, as well as a wealth advisor there. That is Elias Randall. Hey, Elias.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, Doug.
Good.
I love being on the show with you. And your intros, that is so good, it nearly brings a tear to my eye.
Well, you know what? I'm glad to know that. I appreciate that. I will do what I can to stop you from crying just like a little baby on Christmas Day when they get that little red wagon they
Thank
want.
you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Deal.
Keep them coming.
Okay. I'll get there. Also joining us, he is the president and a wealth advisor as well at Premier Investments and Wealth Management with over 21 years of experience in the financial services industry. He is an accredited investment fiduciary. We affectionately know him as the Big Kahuna, TPK Roger Abel.
I like the new one. I like
Throw
it.
a little movement in there, man.
Wow.
Throw a little. Had to get a little movement in
Motion
this.
creates emotion, Doug. You know the deal.
If you're not moving, you're not healing yourself
Well,
either.
thanks for
I'll
coming
tell you
back,
that.
Doug. Appreciate you having me here.
Glad to be on the program. And you know what? There's a lot of questions that people have. And here's what it comes down to is that there are a lot of people who say, you know what? I do my own oil changes and I know how to fix my own brakes and I know how to do these things. And, maybe if I have a heart issue, I'm going to go to a cardiologist, but I can take care of my own financial future. The question becomes, at what point does it become better for you or even necessary to hire a financial advisor?
Well, many people wonder and have this question. Should I hire a financial advisor or firm, or should I be a do-it-yourself investor and go at it alone? And I think there's a couple things. One, not everyone does need an ongoing relationship with a financial planner, but I think today we're going to talk about a few of the signs and some of the signs that would lead to, hey, maybe this is an area where you should think about utilizing a firm and a financial advisor. And it starts with a couple basic things we talk about all the time. And the easy one is, do you have the time to do it for yourself?
This is funny because I was looking through because I was actually on the next one. I was doing a little research because I remember this, but it makes sense when you're talking about that because if you don't have the time to do it and you're just going to let it go, it's like that's why we've got somebody who cleans our house, is because we may have the time to do it, but something else is going to get kicked to the curb if we don't do that.
Well, and I think you kind of have to look at your investing journey in different phases too. We talk about the phases of retirement, but there's phases of your investing journey where, if you're just starting out and you're still trying to pay off your debt and all you're doing is a 401k at work and you're 24 years old and you're systematically investing, I'm not sure that individual really needs a whole lot of help from an advisor at that point in time. But there will be a time where they progress and the decisions get more important and get more complicated. Hey, I'm debt free now. I'm maxed out my 401k. What do I do? How do I handle these different things?
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before that I think I see that people start to get very curious and nervous at the same time about 40 to 45.
Okay.
Because I feel like when you're 45, it gets really real. And I'm just going to use myself as a real example. Turned 46. I've done this for, this is all I've ever done. I've done this since I was in college, my senior year.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I never thought about what retirement looked like. The last 2 years, I'm like, because I never, for a long time, I was part of the 35% of the people that said, I'm going to work forever.
Yeah.
And then you see stuff, you're like, well, I'm not going to work forever, right? And I've always planned for retirement, but it gets a lot more real the closer you get. And I think those are the times when you need to start looking at adding advisors to your equation. And Elias mentioned time. That's the number one thing that we provide for people is how do we soak up the time? It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at something.
I think he's kind of cluing us in. He feels like he's getting old, I think is what he's getting at there.
I don't feel old. Everybody will get there. You're 36, right?
36.
So my guess is,
Yeah.
you think about, hey, I'll retire someday, but not like.
No, I know, and it scares me when you talk about that because he actually asked me the other day, have you ever like visualized what you're actually going to do with your time in retirement? And I was like, from a more meaningful perspective, and yeah, in my mind, I'm a good saver, so I am going to retire someday. But then actually really thinking about it, I don't think I'm to that age yet.
Right.
Where to me, it's still, I guess, 20 or 25 years away. So it's just too far off in the distance yet, where it's not as when you're within 15 to 20 years, so potentially maybe even less. So it's kind of close, right?
Maybe part of it is my wife is a couple years older, so she's even closer, and she's planning, once the girls are out of high school, like, where are we going to get our next place?
Yeah.
So maybe that's making it more real, which I've always, I don't really want to, I like this, but reality is you're going to retire, right? At some point. I mean, whether you want to or whether you're forced to.
Right.
Maybe.
And that maybe that's why it's more real, because we talk about, hey, my youngest daughter will be done in 12 years.
Right.
Where are we going to get another place? We live in a climate we live in a full-time climate right now where it's kind of cold in the winter. She's already informed me that when my youngest daughter graduates high school, she will not be here November, December, January, February, March.
The option for you to
totally
come
fine,
along.
but I think that makes it more. Yeah, that's what she said. She goes, "You do whatever you want, but in the winter months, I'm not going to be here that much."
I'm going to give you a little theater of the mind thing here, because it's something where you can put it this way: is that when you're younger, that clock's ticking, you just don't hear it. The older you get, the louder that ticking becomes.
Faster.
To where you point. And then you get from 36 to where you're 46, to where the hair starts to turn color, the kids start to get older, and you start thinking about the next things. And then you get to 56 or a little bit older. And then I've got older siblings where I see what's happening to them in their life and their lifestyle. And that clock ticking gets so loud that you can't hear anything above it. And there is only one thing you can do to turn the volume down, and that's turn to a financial professional. Because otherwise, you're going to have to turn all your attention to making that noise go away. And if you want to do it on your own, you're going to be ignoring a lot of other things in your life, guys, that you're going to have to spend the effort and all the time that you have in order to make that noise go away. Why not just let a professional do it? So that's one occasion when a financial advisor hiring that out to somebody like Premier Investments is worth, is when the time is that issue.
I couldn't have said it better, Doug. Like what you just said really summed up the time and why you delegate it. The second reason people engage, and there's 4 reasons we believe people should have a planner at some point, is desire. Do you have the desire to do this? And that's an important part because a lot of people think they have the desire because the desire is, I want it to be free.
Right.
Well, if you don't truly have the desire, you're likely not going to provide the outcome that you really want. You know, irrelevant of how much you saved in cost and fees, you're probably costing yourself money by not delegating this if you don't have the desire to do it. Because when I don't have the desire to do something, guess how good it gets done?
Oh,
It doesn't.
yeah.
It doesn't get done.
Good example.
And
I have
like-
no desire to bring in my garbage cans. So do I bring them in right away when I get home? No.
No.
I wait till the end of the day because I have no desire to do it.
Your neighbors put yours away.
My friend who walks every day, there's many times he's brought him up to the curb.
He just does it for you.
Yeah. I got another good example too. This is something in real life. We moved about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. We moved. When we did, we moved to a large lot in city, place, and I was like, oh man, I love doing the lawn. I love doing this lawn. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out get a lawn tractor and I'm going to get all the stuff that goes along with it. And it was like $8,700 to get what I wanted and what I needed. And then when the time came after the proceeds from the house sale were done, we're looking at that. And I went over there and I looked at that yard and I said, do I really want to spend nearly $10,000 in 3 hours every time I mow the lawn, plus the maintenance and upkeep, plus housing all this stuff? Or do I just want to hire it out? Yeah. The desire wasn't there.
Good decision,
Yeah.
Doug.
The time was here. The desire wasn't there, though. That was the big thing.
Yeah, and I like Roger's point earlier about how a lot of times the desire comes down to, well, I want it to be free, right? Just not wanting to pay for the services. Well, there's that old adage, right? You get what you pay for. So if you go at it alone and it's free and you don't end up with an optimal outcome, well, free isn't always necessarily better, right?
Yeah.
But it was
A
an
lot of time-
outcome.
Yeah. It's an outcome.
Yeah, you got a result, right?
Yeah.
But it might not be what you were looking for. And you may have made mistakes along the way that you wouldn't even really know or be able to quantify for yourself. There's probably a lot of hidden opportunity cost as
You
well.
won't be able to quantify. And everybody, when we say optimal outcome, thinks, well, that means I ran out of money if I didn't get an optimal outcome.
Yeah.
That's not true. It could have been you underspent the first 10 years of retirement and didn't get to fully enjoy it because you had no way to figure out how much you could spend those years and still be okay for the rest. So let's think about the do-it-yourselfer who is in a family dynamic that they are people that don't spend. And we have families we work with like this. They are paralyzed to spend $1, even though we've done the financial plan and they know they're going to be okay. They won't spend any money because they think they're going to run out.
Right.
Could you imagine if they hadn't done a financial plan, how they'd feel every single day? What are they going to do in retirement? Nothing. Because every time they have to spend something, they feel like they're going to run out.
Yeah, it's like it's painful.
It's painful for them to
spend money.
Yeah. Premier Investments and Wealth Management Financial Program at premieriwm.com. I'm going to give you a phone number. You can make your appointment online at premieriwm.com, but you can also call 800-383-6590. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is such a thing as a no-cost meeting with them. If you go to premieriwm.com, click Get Started, answer a couple of questions, and they provide for you a one-page Premier Vision document. Sit down with the folks from Premier, Roger, Elias, or one of the other staff, and you can walk away with that document and be more informed about how close you are or whether you're ready for retirement or whatever your financial future goal is. PremierIWM.com is the place on the internet where you start off with that. Talking with Roger Abel and Elias Randall from Premier Investments and Wealth Management. I got a story to start this next one off is that recently, it was like maybe within the past 6 months, there's a guy who was studying for something like doing a dissertation or something like he was studying. He was sitting there with his sister, and he was asking artificial intelligence, AI, something, and AI was about the worth of life and the value of life, and the AI came back and said, you don't even deserve to be alive, so why don't you just go off and off yourself?
No.
What?
Yes, it did. Seriously. It's just the craziest thing because I did this on my morning show. I talked about it. I actually had somebody read that out for me in a very 2001 kind of, like the movie voice. That's one of those crazy things. And the people are like, well, you know what? That's why you have to trust it. We're not all the way there yet with the technology. Now, if you think the AI is not there, you just go on Reddit or some of the subreddits and see some of the stuff you see on there is just insane.
You're talking about knowledge now.
Yeah.
Like, do you have the knowledge to do this stuff? And I can 100%, understand what you're talking about with the AI kicking out the wrong answer.
Right.
So this is about right when AI was fairly new, but you could get it on your phone. Like you could go ask it something. And one of our friends played in the NBA for 11 years. And I said, tell me about this person. I was trying to show him how cool this was. So I said, tell me about this person. And, it whipped out its 8 paragraphs or whatever about this individual. But in the end, the last paragraph was, he was a commentator for X amount of years on this. And he's like, yeah, I've never commentated anything. So it's how accurate do you think this technology is going to be? And is that where you're going to get your knowledge base for investing? And that's the third component of the decision-making process for somebody is, do I have the knowledge to do this? And do I want to spend the 10,000 hours that it's going to take to actually get the knowledge to do it? And the knowledge becomes more important the later stages of life that you get. We mentioned before, 25-year-old systematic savings plan in a 401k, your knowledge doesn't have to be that great.
Yeah.
But what was it, the last show we had a caller call in, or we did a listener question, and the individual asked, if my wife, who's 73, leaves a job, starts a new job, do I have to take a required minimum distribution? And it just gets more complicated. Yeah. So that's where the knowledge becomes even more valuable.
Well, it does. And the Google search is never going to be a good replacement for personalized financial advice and working with a firm. And actually, just the other day, and I think sometimes some of the stuff when it comes to the knowledge piece, I think I even take for granted. I had a meeting with someone who they're a do-it-yourselfer, so wanted to pay an hourly fee to just come in and talk about stuff and get some advice. And they're executing Roth conversions for themselves. And then inside their Roth account, they're buying CDs. So that's the most conservative, and they showed me their portfolio, the most conservative asset that they have in their portfolio. And I just, for me, I felt that was kind of an aha moment where I took for granted. Well, I just figured everyone should know if you're going to take money from a taxable account in an IRA, put it into a Roth that can grow tax-free, wouldn't you own your growth investments in the Roth account? Like, wouldn't your most aggressive assets be in that account? So I talked him through that, and it was like a light bulb went off for me. He goes, wow, that's a really good idea. But I thought, isn't that kind of like, to me, that's
isn't that
like
what
a 101?
I'm supposed to be here for? This is my job. I mean, your job.
But he was hiring us, hiring on an hourly basis. He wanted to be a do-it-yourselfer.
Yeah.
But point is, I think what you're getting to, how much does this guy cost himself over the years by trying to do it himself in all the failed opportunity cost of this Roth IRA?
Right, and that's a basic 101 mistake, really, right? So what other, like you just said, what other opportunity cost has this investor cost himself by not wanting to pay the fee, essentially? And he basically told me that in the conversation, is I'm just not ready to pay what it costs to work with somebody. But that was fine. I mean, he paid to have a conversation for a couple hours. Yeah. So, but I was really kind of shocked by that. You spent hours and hours on the internet watching YouTube, but then this one little key component of this transaction, you just totally missed the boat on. And then I think I felt like I got more praise than I really deserved. I mean, he was really, wow. Like, he was really complimenting how smart I am about financial planning. Well, I mean, comparatively speaking,
here's what it is. I think people have a false sense of what the financial advisor is going to do for them.
Okay.
I think a lot of people still think the financial advisor is just going to find me better investments.
So what does a financial advisor do?
All of it. They create you a very holistic plan that encompasses savings rate, distribution, tax strategy, your optimal portfolio, your risk capacity. I mean, getting good investments, that's not really that hard. Like you can find that, but I still think people believe financial advisors are the financial advisors from 30 years ago who they're going to get you the next best thing. Like that's not the reality. We put together a great plan to optimize your situation versus just find you another good investment.
And a couple of things too. It's not just optimize your situation as it is. You do these financial stress tests and you do for here are the potential outcomes, different points in my life and lifestyle, and you can model those so you can get an example of those. And that's not just somebody sitting there with a green eye shade and a calculator and a slide rule. I mean, this is some pretty potent technology, which is the fourth component.
Right. And this highlights, you brought up Elias, an individual who really lacked the knowledge, thought they could get it, but kind of lacked it. There are people who are very knowledgeable and spend a lot of time studying this and can bring a lot of it together. And it reminds me of a meeting I had back in 2018, an individual in my office. And he's an engineer for a very large company. And he took it upon himself to go through all the health benefits offered to this company, spreadsheeted, of course, write a manual for his friends. HR eventually came to this individual and said, could we just have the manual you created? I'm not joking. And this individual's wife used to be a stockbroker 30 years ago, so she kind of knew some stuff. And she went to the bathroom and he looked over at me as we're going through this financial plan. He goes, I figured out how you can help me. I'm like, okay. And he was knowledgeable, and so was she. He goes, you have access to all the technology that I don't, that if I went and did this myself, which I could, would just be a disproportionate amount of time based upon what you're going to charge me to utilize your technology and analyze our specific situation in a matter of minutes versus a matter of weeks. And he's like, that's too long to figure it out. Weeks are too long to figure it out. If I want to know what change I need to make, I want it to happen instantaneously. And that's when the aha moment was for me, that we offer a fourth thing to most people that they don't have access to. And that is the technology to do all of the modeling for all the different parts of their financial life. And if they went and bought the technology themselves, most of the time it would be cost prohibitive. By the time they got it, they figured out how the inputs worked, because with technology, if you put garbage in, what comes out the backside? Garbage out. So there's just a lot of interpretation that has to be done to make sure this works.
Makes sense. And the technology is something that you have in your hands, and it makes your jobs so much easier now than it has been in the past. I know that you're still kind of a young guy, but I would imagine since you started, the technology has changed enough that you can see a movement in it.
I've been pretty fortunate because when I started, we had implemented a lot of the technology, and we do consistently add programs that we're using. Like we added a new tax planning software this year that's been really valuable for our families. I think I'm fortunate though, back in the day when Roger and the older guys were doing spreadsheets and they had a pencil and a notepad and their finance calculator to figure all this stuff out. I've been fortunate in that way where I learned the business and came through with all the robust financial planning software. And I think that I want to add one more thing that Roger was talking about. Just when, if someone were to invest in the technology and use it, the time that they would spend would be incredible to figure out how it works. And then any mistake, because anyone can make a typo, right? We're I've done it before. I'm entering the data and then I go look at the results. But I can quickly figure out if the answer doesn't make sense. So what's the value in that, where if you don't know what you're doing and you have the inputs and then you look at the answer, it might not be the right answer. But if you don't have enough knowledge, you wouldn't even know that, hey, maybe something's not right here. Maybe I got a lever pulled wrong, or maybe I entered in a value of one account incorrectly. So just kind of even troubleshooting the software to make sure the answer you get is actually your answer. That's a huge piece of this.
I think that's a really good point, because, I don't know how many of these I've done, but it has to be in the thousands, I'm sure.
I would imagine.
And it's now a little bit of a game for me to figure out if I can predict the probability of success for this individual based upon the inputs. I have an idea based upon the inputs of where this should go.
Right.
So when something is like either it's too good to be true or it doesn't work, fairly easy for me to go figure it out. I had one the other day that when we were assigning assets, one of the investment assets was unassigned or not used in the plan. It was like $1.2 million. Somehow the checkbox said not used in the plan as I was going through the data. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. These people's probability should be off the charts.
Right.
Well, I was able to go diagnose
the took away over $1 million from the.
I took $1.2 million away from their financial picture, from the scenario. So that's the things, the value that people never even see is that the one time you think you knew how to pull the lever and work the software and you didn't, we can keep you out of harm's way. So those are the 4 things that when you're deciding whether you need to hire a financial advisor, it is, do I have the time, desire, knowledge, and technology to do this? And if you don't, you're delegating one or all of those things to an advisor.
Remember when you were a kid, you'd play a game or something like that, and you'd do like tick, tack, take back, and you'd say, okay, I get to take back that, and I get to go back to where I was before. There's some financial decisions that don't have take backs. You gave the example of the person who, when he was getting out of he was getting a divorce, and he was splitting everything up between him and his wife. He just cashed out the IRA in order to give her half. He's going to take a financial hit on that entire thing.
Well,
no take-backs.
What's ironic, though, now we're going to reach out to a financial planner to help us after I've already made the mistake. It was avoidable, but it was all about saving money.
Yeah.
Saving money, there's other ways to save money. Sometimes money spent is money saved.
So I'm pretty sure I saw it at the mechanic we take our vehicles to. He's got a sign up in the shop that says the price is going to be X if you just bring it here. And then the price triples if you looked at it, tried to fix it, and broke it. Made the situation worse. That's what that makes me think about.
Well, yeah, and to finish this whole thing up, it's like back when I was a kid, I remember watching Monday Night Football back when I was like the single digits old, and there was an air filter company that they were selling these things like, hey, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. If you're going to try and do it on your own or use an inferior product that doesn't have the knowledge, desire, or the ability to get what you want out of it, go ahead, but you're going to pay for it in the long run. That's why you need to go to premieriwm.com right now and answer the questions after you click Get Started. Roger, what's the phone number in case people want to call and make an appointment?
800-383-6590.
These are the professionals. These are the people who can be your next wealth advisor, Premier Investments and Wealth Management. Until next week, everybody.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. Consult your tax professional about eligibility to Roth and traditional IRA contributions. Contributions and earnings in a Roth IRA can be withdrawn without paying taxes and penalties if the account owner is at least 59.5 and has held their Roth IRA for at least 5 years. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of the conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA.